What we're going to do next, you can look at your handout, go to page 1, and you're going to do a Discovery Bible study on 2 verses, Matthew 6, 9 and 10, and 2 Corinthians 10, 3 through 5. So you should be able to see those on the screen. And first, in your small groups of 3 or 4 people, go ahead and hit pause, get into those groups. And then when you unpause, go ahead and read from your handout those verses aloud in your groups. Then pause for a minute and ask God to speak to you through those verses. Then look at the questions on your handout and discuss what the answers to those questions might be, and see what God shows you. So go ahead and pause this video and do that, and then come back. Okay, you might want to share now with the larger group what you've observed and see how your insights encourage one another. Next, we're going to look at some observations. Stay in your same small groups. And again, you're at your handout on page 1. And you want to talk about in your groups what strongholds or hindrances to kingdom advance you've observed or experienced. Or maybe you're now observing or experiencing. It might be things like despair or hopelessness or isolation, rejection, fear, unhealthy anger. What strongholds do you observe, either in yourself or in a group that you're part of, or in the people around you, your community? And pause again, ask God to speak to you and show you what those might be. Then, when you've brainstormed some of those, look at them and ask God to show you what kingdom opposites of those are shown in Scripture. For example, hope. God is a God of hope, and hope is an opposite of despair. Some things have more than one opposite. So ask God to show you, like love. Perfect love casts out fear. Community. Community is an opposite of isolation. Acceptance. God's acceptance is an opposite of rejection. So take a minute, think about those, discuss those in your group, pause, and then look at what Bible verses might relate to these kingdom opposites. For example, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that you abound in hope by the power of the Spirit. So go ahead and pause with that. And when you're done with that, take a little time and pray and ask God to build those kingdom things in your situations. And then, as the last part of our introduction, we're looking at inviting God in to everything, which, if you remember one thing about this training, remember that. Invite God into everything. So, as we talked about before, we're inviting God in, and we're asking Him to clear the airspace. So there's some different kinds of airspace that can need clearing. One, which we just talked about, is situational bondage. We want to pray kingdom opposites over strongholds and hindrances to the gospel. Another way of clearing the airspace in our lives is from generational bondage and occult bondage. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, what that looks like. And you can also read more about it in my book, Becoming Whole, or in the simplified version. There's also a handout included with your handout on freedom from generational bondage. Then, after we look at the clearing the airspace, we're going to look at those 5 R's plus 2 that we talked about: the opening prayer, recognize, recent, root, receive, renew, closing prayer. And those are our basic wholeness prayer principles, which are helping us get out old roots and plant new seeds, kingdom seeds. So that is the end of our first section.